Hey everybody, I just want to put in a content disclaimer before we start off today's episode. There's going to be discussions of racism, sexual harassment, grooming, transphobia, homophobia, and police brutality. Hey everybody, I hope everyone's doing alright. I know the last couple of episodes I uploaded were kinda depressing. I get that. I uploaded a lot of stuff about, real life shit that affects a lot of people. So I wanted to, as I said in the beginning of this all, upload something a little more lighthearted, a little more humorous that, people can just enjoy and not have to think about all the real life consequences of the patriarchy or self doubt and those types of things. So I decided I want to talk about something a little more, left field, and that is TikTok. Now, I know a lot of people have quite strong opinions on TikTok, with some believing it's just a Chinese government surveillance app that's stealing all your data, as if these people didn't use Facebook to share all their conspiracy theories and racist memes. Like, Facebook doesn't know every single detail about you. Like, come on. They know where you were born, they know you got kids, they know everything about you. What's the difference? And then there's the other camp, the people that cannot live without TikTok anymore, a la moi. Like, I am genuinely addicted to this damn app. Like, can you really imagine not watching an overwhelming number of videos? Like, come on, you can tell me the truth. But I want to discuss the great, not so great things about the app and its community. And before I jump into that, I just want to shout out my friend Maya. She was a major help in coming up with some of the ideas of this episode. So, shout out to you. Thank you so much for that. Now, you might be asking yourself why I want to talk about TikTok today. That's a valid question, as most people simply think of it as a video sharing platform. Nothing special, But what I find interesting about the app is its effects on things outside of its own platform. And what triggered the desire to talk about the subject of TikTok was the recent Lil Nas X controversy. And I'm putting controversy here in air quotes. It's a battle between religious people and Lil Nas X. And I want to discuss that later at length. But at first, I just really want to start talking about TikTok in a more general sense. So, before I jump into the discussion of the topic itself, I'm going to give you a little history lesson on the app itself. So, for everybody that's been living under a rock for the past 3 years, I'll give you a little rundown of what TikTok is. Now, back in the day, the early to mid 2010s, there was these extremely popular apps like Vine, Dubsmash, and Musical.ly. But the landscape of online content was changing quite rapidly at that point, and those platforms could no longer maintain themselves in the later half of the 2010s, and they ended up pretty much dying out. In the case of Vine specifically, it could not maintain itself anymore. It was bought by Twitter, and they couldn't monetize the app enough to actually keep it going. But then in 2017, Chinese company ByteDance purchased Musical.ly to expand its business into the West, as they already had an incredibly popular app in China with Douyin, which was pretty much similar to Musical.ly in the style of content being creative. After acquiring the Musical.ly app, they pretty much just changed it into the now infamous TikTok, which everybody pretty much knows by now. Now, this might just be conjecture, because I don't have the exact number of users for TikTok, but I believe the app only really took off and reached the early stages of its success in about 2018, when the ironic TikTokers started posting on the app, ridiculing some of the content that was already being shared on the platform. The original target demographic of Musical.ly was young children that enjoyed people doing like little dances and lip syncs to really popular music. And that was the audience TikTok still had in the beginning, the people that, stayed on Musical.ly when it migrated to TikTok. But in 2018, a lot of older teens and early 20-somethings started posting on the app with more humorous content, usually targeted at ridiculing some of the trends and ridiculousness of the early TikTok trends. And I believe that was the real start of the popularity of the app, as it had more varied selections of content being posted on TikTok. But, once again, pretty much this is all an observation that is mostly conjecture, and I could be completely off. There are many incredibly popular creators that still lip sync and dance. Some of the biggest creators still lip sync and dance and have 100 million followers, like Charlie D'Amelio and other big creators like Addison Rae and all these people. And they still follow the age-old formula of lip sync and dancing. But I feel like nowadays, TikTok has become extremely diverse in the content that is being posted on the app. Like, there are different sides of TikTok that have begun naming themselves, creating labels for content that they create, with the two of the most well-known examples being straight TikTok and alt TikTok. Now, straight TikTok didn't name itself, but it's a name that was derived by the popularity of straight white cis creators being popular on the app, being the biggest creators. And straight TikTok has been, designated, the hyped trend-based content posted by mostly verified accounts consisting of conventionally attractive white teens and young adults. The mainstream content, which is usually what you get when you first download the app. And alt TikTok, which was the original other side of TikTok, was the term that was created for all the content that was labeled, the goofy side of TikTok, which contains punks, memes, music, fashion, artsy stuff, and just general Gen Z humor. Alt and straight TikTok rarely ever intersect, and people on either side don't really enjoy each other's content, usually. But alt TikTok is not a monolith. It's much more of a collective of many subsets of TikTok sides that coexist and often share commonalities. One of the biggest parts of alt TikTok is queer talk, which, as the name would imply, is inhabited by content and content creators that are part of the LGBTQ plus community. But there's also other sides like music TikTok, kink talk, food talk, art TikTok, frog TikTok, and amongst other communities, all represented by a variety of creators, which is where I want to start talking about some of the good things that TikTok provides and enables, which is TikTok has created a community where a lot of people that, minority groups can really interact with one another online in a type of safe space. It's given a lot of queer people a place where they can express themselves and create content for themselves and other queer people that they can relate to. And it can give a voice to anybody. Literally anybody could go viral and have their account blow up if the algorithm picks up the video. So it's an opportunity for anybody to really have a chance to express themselves within the community they really see themselves being part of. There's also, as I said, music talk. A lot of singers and musicians have gone absolutely viral on the app. Some of these musicians and creators are now absolute real celebrities. Like, one of the main examples would be Lil Nas X, who, had extreme success with his first single, Old Town Road, on the TikTok app. And that really led to the song itself becoming super popular in streaming and downloads, and really, boosted his career and now put him on a pedestal. And most of his songs have now gone viral on TikTok. There are numerous other creators like Doja Cat. Doja Cat had songs go absolutely viral on the app for trends such as a silhouette challenge. So much so that there is now a Coors Seltzer commercial that uses her a mashup of her song Streets for the silhouette challenge. Or this song right here that's playing.
Hey, drop the roof and let the smoke clear. I got diamonds doing tootsie slides in both ears.
Which is Brent Faiyaz's Dead Man Walking. And I can imagine a bunch of you people are either doing the face right now or know which face I'm talking about that recently went pretty, viral on the app. You have other examples, for example, like Ash Nico. Ash Nico had a bunch of her songs go absolutely viral on the app, especially on Queer Talk, where a lot of queer creators used her music because it represented a lot of the things they miss in traditional pop music and stuff like that. You also had like BB No Money, who had multiple viral sensations like La La La, who, had tons of videos being made with his sound, and, that really boosted his career into the mainstream. You also have people like Ava Max with her songs, and also Megan Thee Stallion. Megan Thee Stallion had so many of her songs go viral for like dance challenges. So those songs get popular on the app, and that pretty much guarantees that there are also going to be songs that go popular outside into the mainstream. You also had plenty of like indie and small musicians that were discovered on the app and then got to sign record deals or release their own hit singles and albums. So it really gives an opportunity for creatives like musicians and artists to really have a platform where they can grow a following to then release music themselves or find a representation or a record deal if they so desire. So I see a lot of those positives coming in on the app and giving a lot of people a chance that they might not have had beforehand. The marketplace in and of itself is very restrictive. It's hard for people to break out into the music scene. And having something that enables you or facilitates it to grow a following within a community that's going to help you later on when you want to release something creative like music and have those opportunities. As I said previously, I want to highlight the great things about TikTok and its community. But at the same time, when we're talking about music, we also have to bring up the fact that there are some negative effects of music being uploaded to TikTok. And that is oftentimes there's a lack of credit for original songs that are being utilized in challenges. You can take that as an example, for example, when Joji's Slow Dancing in the Dark became part of a trend. Oftentimes, the music being utilized in the video of itself is just an audio that a user uploaded instead of using the original audio from the song with the credits to Joji. The same thing happened with ZHD, who was a rapper that had a song blow up on TikTok, but it wasn't correctly labeled in the system. So oftentimes there's a lack of recognition for the original artists behind the songs being utilized. And since there's no royalty system on TikTok, they have deals with major labels. There are no ways for artists to gain any actual monetary benefits from having songs go viral from the app in and of itself. Obviously, as we've mentioned, oftentimes when a song will go viral on the TikTok app, it's also going to end up being quite popular on streaming services, because those are the ones that most young people are utilizing. But at the same time, because of the lack of correct labeling or credits being given to the original artists of songs, oftentimes a lot of these smaller artists are losing out big time. There's also cases of larger artists like Jason Derulo utilizing audios from TikTokers in their own songs without giving them the proper credit. So that's one of the considerations that needs to be made. Like, TikTok has to work harder crediting original artists for their musics in the audio description being utilized in all the videos. There has to be a content ID system, something that, helps musicians get the recognition that they deserve. Now, let's go back to the good things, because we don't want to go all depressy again. TikTok was quite popular as a first-hand account and information spreading tool during the Black Lives Matter protests last year. A lot of participants in these protests shared a lot of videos about the abuse of power and police officers abusing their power against protesters and attacking peaceful demonstrators, as well as also sharing information about the cause, sharing information about petitions, places you could donate to, sharing historical information about why these protests are happening currently, the history behind why it's so important that we're now recognizing and further discussing the inequalities that people of color go through in our world, and they have gone through for the last hundreds of years. You know, TikTok was used as a tool to help organize, direct to causes, spread information about organizations, and also give people safe protesting practices, and also try to, give people an opportunity to interact with these organizers, with these thought leaders, with these people that are really doing the groundwork to improve the situation that a lot of people are currently facing. And it opens up a dialogue and offers a platform for these people spreading that information, those statistics, those eye-opening videos about the reality that people are facing and the situation they're currently in, and the situation that people of color especially still face in places like United States, United Kingdom, Europe, all around the world. Oftentimes, what you're going to end up seeing on the news, in newspapers, in mainstream media in general, are not first-hand accounts of people participating in these protests, participating for the greater good. You're oftentimes going to get reporters talking about the situation, but oftentimes they're not going to be talking to the people that are at these events. They're going to be talking about how they're unruly protesters, how they're causing property damage, those types of bullshit headlines that are just taking away from the cause. It's a way for the media to silence people from sending out their message. Having the ability to share these first-hand accounts from people on the ground involved with participation, organization, involved with the real causes, is oftentimes much more important than what you're going to see on the news. Because the news has a bias. All news channels have a certain bias. And that's where you lose a lot of the nuance of what's actually occurring. You're going to have a lot of statements being put up by police, painting protesters as these evil people that are fighting and destroying and damaging things around them, while completely overlooking what people are protesting for. And that's why apps like TikTok are so important in these situations. Because oftentimes on other apps, you're going to get your videos deleted. And I'm not saying that TikTok did delete quite a few videos actually, of people participating in the Black Lives Matter protests. And that was obviously an issue in and of itself, but apparently that had been fixed at the time. But having an opportunity to really share something with an online, internet-savvy generation of people, mostly young people, that can take those videos and further distribute them to other people outside of the TikTok sphere. I think, objectively speaking, you can certainly say that TikTok had an important role on distributing information and helping organize events throughout the process during last year. And undoubtedly, a lot of people utilized the app to spread and invite people to join them in the occurrences that were happening. It was a way to not be censored by things like Facebook or Twitter, which would cancel events if they were planned on the app, and things like that. It was an alternative to mobilize a younger generation to participate in something so historic, and also enlighten them on things that are happening around them that they might not be completely aware of due to the young age of most TikTok users. So I find that that was such an important thing to consider when you're looking at TikTok, the impact it had during that period of time. There are plenty of articles surrounding the subject in and of itself. You can gladly look it up. Genuinely, there are a lot of people talking about why TikTok was so important for young demonstrators, young organizers to utilize to gather enough people and inform them about what was occurring. Now, TikTok isn't only just about these major events and spreading all that information, there's also absolutely crazy talented people participating in artistry occurring on the app. Things such as Ratatouille the Musical. Now, you heard me right, Ratatouille the Musical. We all know about Ratatouille, the hit 2007 Disney movie that I feel like shaped a lot of our childhoods. Well, there were dozens of creators coming together, writing songs, choreographies, doing set design, playbooks, storyboards, and all these other things, solely because they thought it was fun. It was a creative way to join together as an online community to create something bigger than just yourself. That most likely everybody's aware that that's not gonna occur in real life. We're not gonna end up Ratatouille, the actual musical on Broadway. But at the same time, it's so fun to see something like that occurring online with a bunch of strangers just coming together and creating something so fun and creative. You know, people even made merch. Like, I respect that. Get that bag. You know, as I said in previous episodes, we live in a capitalist hellscape, so milk whatever opportunity you get. Mad respect to them. And now there's also Bridgerton the Musical, being created by Abigail Barlow and Emily Baer, two amazing creators. You know, they have made these jaw-dropping songs, these awe-inspiring songs about Bridgerton, you know, the Netflix TV show that recently came out. Now there are people making covers and choreographies and art, all about this creation these two women came up with on a whim, pretty much. You know, Abigail saw the TV show, thought it was absolutely amazing, and decided, why don't I make something fun and enjoyable out of this with the platform I have, so other people can also enjoy something like this, especially in the situation we're currently in with the pandemic raging around us. You also know social media is blowing up when companies are hiring millennials and Gen Z to manage their TikTok accounts. You know, they're making some actual heat content. Like, honestly, there's some great examples that I can include. Like, you know, Ryanair, the airline, whoever is managing that page, whoever it is, I genuinely believe that they deserve a major raise. Because their shit is hilarious. Anthropomorphized airplanes doing the most crazy shit. Or even the Buffalo Bills, the football team, has some of the most funny content on the app. It is absolutely mind-boggling how companies are actually investing money into a social media app and actually creating decent content. I have not seen that before. We're usually, you know, accustomed to such horrible TV ads that are like tone deaf in general. Like, I remember when Wendy's tried to make meme commercials on TV and they were so dry and stale. It was like watching a cringe compilation from 2011. But then Wendy's came back with their Twitter thing and they fucking revolutionized that. Like, you know, shit's popping off when capitalist institutions are hiring kids to be relatable on an app. It's the evolution of relatable brand Twitter. It's just a little more shitposty in general. I said before, Coors, one of the biggest beer brands in the US, their seltzer subdivision made an ad that plays on YouTube all the time that is literally a can of Coors Seltzer doing the silhouette challenge. How can you get more shitposty than that? You know your audience. You're directly marketing towards millennials and Gen Z. And now there are also multiple celebrities posting on TikTok and collaborating with TikTokers in general to get more of a following on the app. Like, you have The Rock duetting random viral TikToks, doing the craziest shit. You know, there are even celebrities investing in TikTok creator houses, even though those houses are literally destined to fail most of the time. Look at the Sway House. Look at the Hype House. You know, moderately attractive white people dancing and lip-syncing to songs, getting millions of dollars. But hey, I'm not the one putting the money in, so let them do what they gotta do, you know? You know, there's even an account where little furry plushies are literally acting out your telenovela drama realness. No, 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 no. Seriously, I recommend everybody right now open your TikTok and go follow at Sylvania Drama. They are absolutely hilarious. They serve your entire telenovela realness, and I can say that it's not racist because I'm Brazilian. We are literally the kings of drama TV. No, I'm not gonna get any Mexicans coming for me. Brazilians have mastered the art of a telenovela drama. You heard it here first, folks. You heard it here first. There are now also militarized K-pop stands. You heard that right. Militarized K-pop stands. Now bear with me. K-pop stands have now started flooding every hashtag you can imagine that is hateful in nature, you know, homophobic, transphobic, misogynistic, all those types of hashtags. They have now all been flooded with enormous amounts of K-pop fan cams, Stan Luna, Stan Jimin, Stan BTS, those types of videos. I am not kidding. Go on any one of those hateful hashtags and you will be bombarded with K-pop related videos. I am not kidding. The K-pop community has genuinely reduced hate speech on the app. They started on Twitter, now it's on TikTok. The K-pop stans have done something amazing. They have reduced hate speech. I am in absolute awe. And I'm not kidding, I'm being genuinely honest. I am so happy with what these K-pop stans have been doing. I might even consider standing Luna. There's also just the general bullying of right-wing politicians and media personality, which I find to simply be chef's kisses, honestly. It is so funny. Imagine this. Teenagers on TikTok took it upon themselves to find out that, I believe it was the Tulsa rally that old Trumpy had organized for his, failed re-election campaign. I wanted to say that real sexy like. Well, they took it upon themselves to find out that you could book seats for that rally online and you didn't really need a lot of details. Like, you could put in a fake phone number and a fake address with a correct zip code in the general vicinity of the rally, and you could online reserve a seat. Now, what do thousands of disgruntled, bored teenagers end up doing with that type of information? Well, they did the obvious. They booked pretty much 90% of the seats online. They somehow coerced the Trump campaign to think that hundreds of thousands of people were going to show up and fill up an entire stadium of people. They even posted about it on Twitter. You know, the Trump campaign was like, oh my god, we're going to have a full house tonight in Tulsa. It's going to be absolutely amazing. And you can look at the pictures for yourself online. There was absolutely nobody. It was like 20 people in a full-on stadium. Like a football stadium with like less than 1,000 people just standing around. And you know Trumpy couldn't, say that, oh, I got by the fucking liberals. I got by the liberal snowflake kids. Obviously didn't say that. He still went along and said, no, we got all these people. They all showed up. It was absolutely amazing. Full house. Trust me on that one. Just between you and I wouldn't trust him on that one. But that's just my opinion. There's also the absolute evisceration of Ben Shapiro's hot takes on WAP, the song by Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion. The man couldn't even say the word pussy. He was all about the wet ass P word. I just really enjoy it when people deconstruct bad arguments, especially when the people making those bad arguments are so fragile. It is absolutely hilarious how easily they break apart when they're critiqued. They all go completely bonkers. It is honestly a sight to behold. And my mans does not help himself. Later on, he went on to twitter.com and he decided to tweet the following, and I quote, "As I also discussed on the show, my only real concern is that the women involved, who apparently require a bucket and a mop, get the medical care they require. My doctor wife, because his wife's a doctor, differential diagnosis, bacterial vaginosis, yeast infection, or trichomonas." But enough about Ben Shapiro and his inability to make a woman climax. Why don't I talk about other men that are completely unable to make a woman climax? Which are dating coaches, pickup artists, and alpha men. Don't they sound absolutely amazing, girlies? Now I have some wonderful news for you, because those types of men are getting absolutely ridiculed on TikTok. All of those misogynistic people just getting absolutely dragged in the comments, in response videos, in duets. Now you might be asking yourself, Luca, why are these men getting dragged on TikTok? And it's actually quite easy to figure it out. Not just by the fact that they're misogynistic pieces of shit, but they also have a desire to compare women oftentimes to animals, especially horses. Now, I don't know why they compare women to horses. It's for some ungodly reason, probably, that only works in their pea-sized brains. But oftentimes, people are just, outing and calling their shit. Because, why are you comparing a woman to an animal? These are people. For all the sexist men, yes, women are people. They deserve rights. They deserve respect. They don't owe you anything. And this all ties back together that a lot of really big TikTok creators are still perpetuating a lot of misogynistic beliefs on TikTok. Recently, a video went pretty viral by a creator that has 4 million subscribers, mocking women about how they act during their periods. Now, this man took it upon himself to make a video acting hysterical with getting vanilla ice cream, pouring a whole gallon of vanilla ice cream into a recipient, and then throwing chocolate sauce on it while screaming like a banshee. It had pretty big, tell us you've never felt the touch of a woman without telling us you've never felt the touch of a woman energy, The bar for straight men is literally on the floor. It cannot go further down. And some of them still can't seem to reach it. I've literally seen, there's this video that, became quite popular, of a woman saying, "Tell me you're a 30-year-old man that has his life together without telling me you have your life together." And a bunch of men are just duetting this video because they have a bed frame and clean sheets on their bed. Babe, having clean sheets is the least you can do. As I said, the bar is on the floor. Women don't owe you anything. Recently, there was this video of this woman singing, doing a little sing-songy thing, going "Can you be nice to men when they hit on you?" And I'm not a woman, but I can tell you, women do not have to be nice to you. As someone that, is occasionally romantically involved with men, I know what it's like to have creepy men start hitting on you. You don't have to be nice to them. Recently, a study came out that 97% of young British women have reported that they have been sexually harassed in public. And that's not an isolated issue, that's a worldwide occurrence. When that came out, the sheer amount of women that it resonated with is scary. You just look around and I can tell you from personal experience, all my female friends have some type of story of men sexually harassing them. Before the whole pandemic shebang, before the whole panorama, I used to go out with a lot of my girlfriends on nights out. And the sheer amount of times I have seen men get far too touchy and inappropriate around women, and I had to step in because these men do not know how to interact with another person, especially a woman. They are completely incapable of understanding that there are personal boundaries you do not cross. It is sexual harassment. It is abuse. And you have to get it inside your tiny little pea brain. Hiya, future Luca chiming in, because I just wanted to expand a little bit on something I was trying to say, but I don't think I put myself eloquently enough. What I want to say surrounding that entire idea is that oftentimes women will feel more secure by acting nice to creepy men hitting on them. It has a perfectly fine response to that situation. What I want to put out there is safety has to be the paramount thing you're going after. And if you feel like in the situation that you're currently facing, acting nice would be the correct assumption to be made and would be the correct step to take, I fully stand behind that decision. What I want to say is, for all the men out there, women don't owe you anything, as I've said multiple times by now, and you should simply accept the word no as an answer. No means no. In all settings possible, no will always mean no. There is no situation where no is an invitation to continue pestering somebody until they say yes. You are coercing somebody. And for all the women out there, I will never be able to be in your shoes. I will never be able to understand the pain and the suffering you have to go through. But what I want to put out there is, your safety will always be your number one priority. Do whatever will make you feel the most comfortable and safest possible. Niceness shouldn't be an expectation. Therefore, do not feel pressured to be nice. I just wanted to add that because I felt like what I had said did not fully convey what I was trying to say. So I'll hand you back to past Luca to continue on with the episode. And I have once again become extremely serious and depressing on a real live note. Which is sad because, you go on these apps and you're obviously looking for enjoyment, you're trying to have fun and stuff like that, and then you're confronted with these real life problems you have to face in daily life. And I feel like it's so important that we highlight these types of things because they're such a common occurrence, but sometimes people just don't understand the reality of the situation. People were mocking the fact that most women have experienced sexual harassment in their life. There were a lot of insecure men being like, oh, come on, there's no way there's more than 90% of women have been sexually harassed in the streets. You're just oblivious to the reality of the situation. And that is so incredibly sad. That some people cannot open their eyes to the reality of the world around them. And since we're talking about harassment and those types of things, it leads me to an interesting movement that has been gaining a lot of traction on TikTok, which is the bimbo, himbo, dembo movement of people reclaiming the term bimbo and changing its origin. The origin of bimbo was vapid, attractive young women that were normally considered stupid and had only cared about their physical appearance. And what's been occurring on the app is a lot of women, men, and also non-binary people have been trying to reclaim the term to make it into something more positive, then changing it into more of a mindset instead of just being stuck with the pure definition of the word relating to physical attractiveness. And one of the figureheads of the movement is a young woman by the name of Chrissy Schlepecka, a hilarious content creator. And since we're on the subject, I've included a couple of articles in the YouTube video of people that are significantly more qualified than I to talk about this rising trend and that can more eloquently describe what's going on with the situation and what they're trying to achieve with this new movement, because they touch on subjects such as intersectionality, the positions of people of color within the space and the movement, and how there's a discussion between feminists on if this movement can be considered empowering or it's just suppression and attention seeking for the male gaze. So I highly recommend you go check those out because it's such a fascinating topic with so much nuance in it. But I'll try to condense a couple of things, such as what a modern day bimbo is. which is they define it as somebody that is pro-sex work. And before I continue, sex work is real work. Sex workers deserve respect. They are humans. They should not be degraded. I just want, to put that out there. Sex work is real work. And to continue on, the modern bimbo is also supposed to be pro-LGBTQ rights, pro-Black Lives Matter, and anti-capitalist, which I find to be fascinating. Obviously, when you think of a bimbo by the traditional standards that we have had for the past decades of what a bimbo is, you usually associate it with a lot of, fashion, plastic surgery, attractiveness, appearance. So it's very much a movement rooted in capitalism, but it has become an anti-capitalist movement and mindset, which reminds me a lot of champagne socialism. And I say that because both engage and partake in the system they're criticizing. You have both of the people that are, within the new bimbo movement and also champagne socialists interacting with capitalist society because that's the society we live in, and they partake in that system and they take advantage of that system while also openly critiquing the system. So while you're partaking in the system for the bimbo movement, which is, makeup, fashion, clothing, plastic surgery, all of those things, you're also actively critiquing the movement, which I find fascinating because you only live one life. So, take advantage of the things you can do and, have fun while you're doing it, but also be aware of the negative connotations of the system you're partaking in. And obviously, a movement that is so polarizing, like the new bimbo movement, has faced some critique. There has been some pushback from feminists, which believe that this is subjugation being sold as empowerment, which you can, from an outside perspective, you can obviously somewhat understand where they are coming from, because obviously you're partaking and also indulging a system that has been created to pleasure the male gaze, take away from women's empowerment originally. That's what the term was created for. But these new bimbos, himbos, and dembos retort that they want to have it be a mindset where you're not actively engaging in this, I want to be hot for men, but I want to feel attractive and dress the way I like and feel comfortable within my own skin without the catering to the patriarchal expectation of women and bimbos in general. And what I also find particularly interesting about this entire movement in and of itself, there is quite a generational divide between the participants within the movement. You're oftentimes interacting with people that are generally younger 20-somethings or in their late teens, which would normally make them either, Gen Z or very, very, very late millennials, where you have that divide, that you have those in-between years. Most people that post this type of content and participate in this movement are usually between the ages of 18 and at most, I would say 25, which is a very specific subset of, people and age groups, which I find to be quite interesting because I feel like there is quite an internet divide between, millennials and Gen Z nowadays. Oftentimes there's, a bit of contention between the two groups because you see quite a bit of, Gen Z making fun of millennials on websites like Facebook, Twitter especially. Twitter is the place where most Gen Z are making fun of millennials and vice versa. But I also found it to be interesting that has now migrated and it is also becoming something that's occurring on TikTok, where it's a very small subsection of each generation just bickering with one another. They're not all millennials and all Gen Z fighting against each other. We have more in common than we have dividing us. But the things that appear on TikTok are quite reminiscent of what has been occurring throughout most years on Twitter, which is, Gen Z criticizing the idea of adulting that a lot of millennials push, being like, oh my god, it's so hard to adult today. And those types of, inflections and words you being utilized in speech where you're simply, pushing away responsibilities and saying, oh my god, that's adulting. I don't want to do this today. Those types of things. There's also a lot of, mocking for the fandom of Harry Potter in general, with all the online BuzzFeed type quizzes being like, oh my god, I'm such a Slytherin, or I'm such a Hufflepuff, and that's like a defining character trait that a lot of millennials apparently have. But there's also that other side of, I feel like a lot of Gen Z criticize millennials for their love of Harry Potter because we now know that J.K. Rowling is a raging TERF. She is very much transphobic, and I feel like as a generation as a whole, Gen Z is very much more accepting of other things and more culturally aware of the media you're consuming. So there is a bit of contention between a lot of Gen Z and millennials because of the love for Harry Potter. And obviously there is the entire debate of, separating the art from the artists, which I think is oftentimes important, but, I get a bad aftertaste in my own mouth when I think of consuming content put out by, people that are homophobic, transphobic, or just bigoted in general. Like recently, there was an uproar surrounding Eminem, where Gen Z was trying to cancel Eminem for his past homophobic and also abuse apologist type lyrics that he had in a lot of his hit songs. That was quite an interesting little debate going on because a lot of older millennials didn't really understand where it was coming from, because I feel like Eminem was such a defining factor in rap music in the late 90s and early 2000s, that which is the point where a lot of older millennials were, blooming into adulthood, going through their angsty teenage years, that type of stuff. So they have a lot of love for Eminem's music in general, while for a lot of Gen Z just see Eminem as this now close to middle-aged rapper that even, hasn't been putting out as much music as he used to. So there isn't that large connection between them and the artist. So they're more easily able to criticize him for his past mistakes. But a lot of this just harps back on the discussion of separating the art from the artist, those types of conversations, and I'm not here to judge anybody that listens to that type of music. There's also criticisms of Kanye West and other big rap artists, because there is a tendency for misogyny, sexism, homophobia to be quite prevalent in rap music in general, because that just has this historical connotation if you look into the past of rap and those types of things. And I'm not criticizing rap by any means. I very much enjoy rap. It's one of the genres of music I listen to the most. But you also have to be aware of the fact that a lot of what's going on in rap historically is quite questionable in a sense. And you can have a whole discussion about the topic, why that is the way it is, and that type of stuff. I'm not here to do that. I'm just, relaying the information that there has been this, divide between the media consumption being done by people, where oftentimes a lot of Gen Z people are more likely to try to cancel or stop interacting with content being put out by artists they find to be problematic. While I feel like because millennials are older than Gen Z and they usually have a longer history interacting with a certain artist's content, they tend to be more easily able to overlook certain problematic pasts. But I'm not, obviously both groups are not monoliths. I'm not trying to paint a picture that millennials are horrible people. Neither am I trying to paint the picture that all Gen Z are super woke and aware of cultural situations occurring around them. It's just very much, that's one of the main parts that I found the most interesting about the millennials versus Gen Z debate that goes on and the infighting. Because the other reasons are very childish in a sense and are mostly just aesthetic choices. like the discussion between, millennials preferring side parts while Gen Z tendentially prefers a middle part on men and women. And also there's these joking videos about how Gen Z doesn't know how to write a check, and then Gen Z just responds, who has written a check in the past decade? Nobody uses checks anymore. Everybody's just Venmoing people. And there's also the discussion about, skinny jeans, or how skinny jeans are just a relic of a bygone era, while, Gen Z tends to be more artistic in the choice of trousers they like to wear. It's very much childish in a sense, where the beef in and of itself is quite childish, but there are certain nuances within the discussion that are very interesting to look at in a grandiose sense, in a bigger picture type situation, like the separation of art and artist, those types of things. So I just wanted to touch on that because I found it so interesting. I know it's not usually, a point of discussion in these videos and these posts, but I feel like if we want to look at it in a broader sense, it's something quite interesting to just touch on. And I would love to hear what people's takes are on the separation of art and artists. So if you have any interesting takes, feel free to DM me or send me a message, because I find it to be such an interesting, nuanced concept. Now, I feel like I've talked at length about, smaller subsections of the TikTok community and occurrences that occur on the app, but I wanted to, pull it back into the main topic that, inspired me to talk about TikTok. And that is Lil Nas X and his controversy surrounding his latest song, Montero, Call Me By Your Name. And, the people that are criticizing him for artistically expressing himself in a song. So for everybody that doesn't know, recently, I'd say it's been less than 3 weeks, Lil Nas X released a song called Montero, Call Me By Your Name, which had a music video that caused quite a bit of outrage for religious conservative people, usually. Because the video involved pole dancing, depictions of hell, and involved Lil Nas X giving a dude dressed as Satan a lap dance, and then proceeding to break his neck and taking away his crown, making him the king of hell, metaphorically. And honestly, the song itself is an absolute bop, and I think it's a killer video, highly enjoyable. And the song has been enormously successful. Like, it has about 100 million streams on Spotify alone. The music video already surpassed 100 million views on YouTube. It debuted on the first place of the Billboard Top 100. So you can objectively say that the song has been extremely popular, to say the least. But now, because the imagery utilized in the video involved, heaven and hell, and Lil Nas X pole dancing from heaven down to hell, and then giving Satan a lap dance and then killing him, all of that has certainly enraged a lot of conservative Christians that have been dubbed the Sky Daddy fandom by the creative people over on TikTok. And these Sky Daddy fandom people have accused Lil Nas X of trying to force an agenda. But now, while they're saying that Lil Nas X is forcing an agenda, they're simultaneously forcing their worldviews on people. There's this content creator I really enjoy. His name's Bernstein. He's on Instagram and YouTube. I'll leave his Instagram in the description of the video. And he puts it quite eloquently, in my own opinion, in which he says that a queer person asking for safety in public spaces is not an agenda. Not being pathologized as mentally ill for being queer is not an agenda. Asking for people to respect your identity is not an agenda. It's quite simple. You even see there's this viral video on TikTok by a user by the name of @Kalish, where they're being harassed in the middle of a fast food restaurant by a woman spouting absolutely inflammatory rhetoric against queer people. Without being prompted, this woman came up to these two people, these two, young people, especially underage people, that were minding their own business, and she just approached them and started asking them questions, completely unprompted, about if they were lesbian, if they had taken Jesus as their Lord and Savior. That's not normal behavior by people. Invading someone's personal space in a public area is not normal. You're literally forcing an agenda on people. You can't just then turn around and be like, no, Lil Nas X is forcing the gay agenda on people for simply asking people to respect him and his identity and his music. That is hypocrisy 101. There's a great example within the own TikTok sphere. Not that these people are actually on TikTok, but they were dubbed, there's this religious, I believe they are a couple, they appear at the same colleges usually. There's this duo of religious people that have been dubbed Sister Cindy and Brother Jed on TikTok, who go around university campuses in the US saying a lot of misogynistic, homophobic, and just generally antiquated notions on gender role and sexuality in general. Another person that got involved in all this drama was Caitlyn Bennett, aka the Poop Girl, and she posted on Twitter asking if Lil Nas X still saw his father. Literally racism. A racist statement in black and white, 100%, no doubt, racially motivated hate speech. Implying that because Lil Nas X is a black man, he doesn't have a father in his life. To which he retorted that he does in fact still see his father, and he might even end up fucking Caitlyn Bennett's father. A quite humorous reply, in my opinion, to a literally racist remark. And then some of the other right-wing intellectuals decided to say that Lil Nas X had now threatened to rape her father. How much more ridiculous can these people get? No, genuinely, that's a genuine question. How much further and how much lower can they stoop? And it's obvious that all of this was planned out by Lil Nas X. He knew how reactionaries were gonna, react to his content, and he intentionally played into that. He planned that they were gonna react exactly as they are right now. It was bait from the very beginning. It's outrage marketing to a T. People are hate watching the video, criticizing it, and he's just profiting off of the outrage. Especially with his entire Satan shoe now going on. He played into it perfectly with the idea that he's now going to make a Satan shoe with a drop of human blood inside. People are going to push back. All of these people are going to start pushing back, and he's just going to start pushing back harder. And this entire outrage is just a rehash of the age-old satanic panic that is very often associated with people of color, especially queer people of color. It's historically always happened, and it's always somehow associated with people of color being degenerates. It's historical. You can genuinely look this up. Go online and look up satanic panic and people of color. You're going to find dozens of articles of historical ostracization of people of color due to the belief that there is some association between them and Satan. And then when it's not about satanic imagery and those types of things, people are going to start saying, oh no, the outrage is related to protecting kids. And then I can just laugh at that statement, because if you had never brought up protecting children with any of his previous music, like, come on, you've listened to Old Town Road and you're gonna tell me that's a kid-friendly song? Shit like Lean in Your Bladder, Cheated on My Baby. Does that sound like kid-friendly lyrics to you? This isn't Kids Bop. It's not specifically made for children. And you're just letting your color show. Because now that a song has come out that's specifically targeting the control tactics utilized by religions like Catholicism, now you have an issue with his music. You didn't have an issue with his music beforehand because it wasn't targeting and also criticizing things you hold dear. And you're just showing your true colors. It's not about the kids. It's about your feelings being hurt. Artists do not owe you anything. They don't owe you children's music. They don't owe you anything related to protecting your kids. Artists make music to express themselves. They're making art to express themselves in the way they see themselves. Most musical genres, not only rap music, talk about sex, talk about religion, but there is only ever real outrage when it's rap music or the artist in question is a person of color, a woman, or a queer person. It's clear as day that it's always those types of songs that get the most outrage. Call Me By Your Name by Lil Nas X is just the latest example of a multitude of songs that have caused outrage in the last year. The most prominent example was pretty much just WAP by Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion, a song by two women of color about empowerment through sexual means. Now, why are so many reactionaries so pressed when women of color make a song to empower themselves? You're just showing your true colors. You're a bigot. That's just clear as day. And now they're also geniuses saying that if you listen to Call Me By Your Name, you're automatically gonna become gay. That's apparently what's gonna happen. You see a video of a queer artist and you're automatically gonna become gay. By that same logic, that because a song is sung by a gay man, it's automatically gonna turn every listener into a gay person. But then I ask, what about the women listening to the song? Are they gonna become mega straight? Because why would a gay man make a straight woman become lesbian? That doesn't make a lot of sense. And then you can also use your same logic about men listening to Lil Nas X and turning out gay. You could turn it around and be like, okay, then make them listen to WAP. That's gonna make them go back to being straight. Because that entire song's pretty much just about pussy. And apparently that's the logic we're using now, because since these two artists are talking about pussy, it's gonna make men become straight again. It doesn't make any sense that music is magically gonna change your sexual orientation. That's not how any of this works. It's pretty much just perpetuating the idea that, oh no, sexual orientation is a choice. And that's just a very 2003 type opinion. But back to a funnier note, obviously people on TikTok had to make some type of trend out of people being outraged at Call Me By Your Name. So what they did was make innumerous videos of people standing in front of the pearly gates of heaven after they die, and then being rejected for multiple reasons, such as queerness. And it always involves Lil Nas X going down the stripper pole from heaven to hell. I just feel like that's the entire encapsulation of a new generation's take on outrage culture. But I think now that's enough about just Lil Nas X and his escapades on the TikTok app. I want to talk about something else that I find quite fascinating about TikTok, and its popularity I feel is very much derived from this facet of the app. And that's the TikTok algorithm. Now, oftentimes when we think about an algorithm, we're going to be thinking about things like, what does YouTube do with their algorithm? For example, they serve you videos they believe are going to be enjoyable for you. That's why we have the recommended tab when you first open up YouTube. Similarly, other apps such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram also use their algorithms to create curated personal content for you. All of them have different approaches to that. For example, Instagram has the Explore page. On Twitter, they recommend accounts you might enjoy following, or when you go to search Twitter, you have all those recommended hashtags, stuff like that. And Facebook, I genuinely don't remember what they do because I haven't used Facebook for the past decade or something. The only time I ever use Facebook is to remember people's birthdays, because I am absolutely horrible at remembering dates. But I don't want to, out myself for not being a Facebook user, because I feel like that will alienate my older audience. But then when you look on TikTok, they usually utilize the same formulaic idea of the YouTube algorithm, where they're trying to serve you content you're gonna enjoy, usually relating to the fact of your previous likes, the type of content you interact with, the people you follow, who they end up following. It's all a bunch of metrics and data, and all of that's gonna end up shaping how the algorithm is going to serve you content. And now, why I say the algorithm is such an important part of TikTok is the fact that TikTok's algorithm is extremely tailored to people normally, to the point where I would say it has one of the most sophisticated algorithms for serving users content that they most likely would enjoy or relate to. Now, obviously, the goal of an algorithm is usually maximizing the amount of time you spend within an app so that they can serve you a greater number of ads. But they also want to gather data on you so they can tailor those ads to you. Now, the tailoring of ads on TikTok itself is different than on social medias like Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram because they're not just images with text. On TikTok, they have to be little short videos, like a TikTok video. So there are fewer very tailored posts as ads. More often than not, they're promoting a product when you first open the app and between swipes on your For You page. But it's usually not as tailored as it would be on Instagram or Facebook, because they have a smaller pool of people advertising on the app. But so what does the algorithm do? Well, what it will try to do is present you with the videos that you're most likely to interact with, meaning the videos that you're most likely to like, comment on, and really enjoy watching. And why do they do that? Because you're more likely to stay on the app if you're enjoying the content you're watching and it relates to you within your interests or other things that are very relatable to you. For example, if you watch a lot of food videos, and you maybe even give them a like, you comment, or even favorite one or two of those, your For You page will start serving you a lot more of those videos because they notice you're actively engaging with that type of content. Now, I'll use an example of myself because I feel like that's the easiest way to demonstrate how it tailors itself to you. Now, over time, I've interacted with a lot of queer content on TikTok. So most of the videos on my For You page are from queer creators, or that deal with queer discussion or news in general. I also enjoy liking posts of people just being confident in themselves, be it about their appearance, about what they've achieved, things like that. I enjoy people being confident in themselves because it's a feature that I often lack in myself. And when I see people being confident in themselves, I enjoy liking that type of content, be it a thirst trap, be it an achievement, be it a graduation post, stuff like that. So it also often pops up on my For You page. I'll also majority-wise get mostly humor content, discussions of funny occurrences in the past, real-life events, stand-up special, memes, or just, a lot of Gen Z-related culture and humor. That's what mostly inhabits my For You page. I rarely ever get food-related videos because it's not a content I interact with a lot. I enjoy food videos. It's just not something I go looking after on an app like TikTok because they're such small factor videos that it loses out on a lot of explanations. So I use other platforms like YouTube for that type of content. And I also don't, enjoy, what people would define as straight TikTok, as I talked about earlier, because I don't enjoy people just lip syncing and dancing to popular music at the moment. It's just not something I personally enjoy as much. So I don't get those types of videos served to me. Well, on the other hand, I'm served a lot of political videos on my For You page. A lot of just political discussion, be it about current occurrences or past events, things like that. And, I follow numerous accounts that report on or discuss politics in general. But where it gets interesting is I don't see videos of people I disagree with politically on my For You page. Most of the videos on my For You page are by leftists or progressives, because that's what I usually identify with politically. But inversely, people that only interact with content on the right-wing spectrum of politics will only get served those types of videos. I see thousands of videos of people mocking, people talking about Trump or the Conservative Party in the UK on my For You page. But I'll never get those original videos that these people, talking fondly about Trump or Boris Johnson, for an example. I never get those videos on my For You page. I only get people critiquing or deconstructing the arguments made in those videos. Which in turn means that people are kept in spaces akin to echo chambers on TikTok if you don't actively seek out content on other sides of the political spectrum. Having no outside media or content can quickly lead to the radicalization of people, especially by bad actors and bad faith actors that are intentionally creating inflammatory content that's going to rile up certain groups of people that feel to a certain extent disenfranchised. You see that example quite clearly in what we now refer to as the alt-right pipeline, especially on platforms like YouTube. This is a personal recommendation, but I find it to be extremely important if you're interested in radicalization and politics in general. I recommend anybody look up the alt-right pipeline on the internet. There are numerous academic papers about this subject now, and a lot of YouTube videos and news articles discussing what the alt-right pipeline is. It's a topic of research that focuses on how alt-right radicals are creating content and strategies specifically targeted to pulling people into their ideas. What they normally will do is they'll target lonely white men who are experiencing feelings of inadequacy or social ostracization, and they'll use those feelings to make them believe that these men have become disenfranchised, and they want to radicalize them into believing in their hateful worldview. And I'll link some very useful starting points down in the description about the thematic of the alt-right pipeline. There are a couple of YouTube videos, news articles, and also a research paper specifically dedicated to how algorithms are being used to radicalize young men, especially in the United States. But now these bubbles, these echo chambers, are leading to a greater amount of hate flowing into outside creators' content, especially their comment section. Now, as I've mentioned beforehand on this episode, there are quite a few of misogynistic creators on TikTok, and these people create a following by pandering to equally hateful people. Now, these fans that these misogynistic and bigoted creators have are most likely at some point gonna stumble upon content that isn't part of their little bubble. That's just an inevitability that's going to happen at some point. And that's where all hell usually breaks loose. And that's a normal occurrence within the comment section of videos by women, people of color, trans creators. They're usually the most affected by these hateful comments. A good example of the spread of hate was the super straight movement, which was started by a transphobic TikToker. And before I continue, I just want to reiterate, trans women are women, trans men are men. They all deserve your respect. And this transphobic creator, who I will not be naming, as they do not deserve any more clout, and I do not want to entertain or give them any attention for their ideas, but I'll link a Snopes article that discusses the actual origin of the super straight movement and the belief system these transphobes have created. But this ridiculous movement gained quite a lot of momentum outside of TikTok by attracting a lot of 4chan trolls and incels that wanted to spread Nazi imagery and anti-LGBTQ plus sentiment, utilizing the super straight movement and their hashtags and their little made-up flag that looks like the Pornhub logo. And that's where you should see a real shocking realization. Bigotry invites other bigotry. Who could have guessed? Shocking, isn't it? But a lot of this hatefulness that I mentioned that is present in these movements also translates into hatefulness and hate comments popping up in content where people are discussing mental health on TikTok, which has become a popular topic for especially, younger, older teen and young 20-year-old creators to post about, because they identify and illustrate a lot of the shortcomings of mental health services offered by schools and universities. They often highlight how we need better mental health services in these places, because oftentimes parents of children that are suffering from mental illness don't take their children's mental health seriously. They tend to think these struggles are all made up within their minds, but these children and young adults need help. Additionally, TikTok has been providing some sort of platform for a lot of people that are working through some of their trauma in a creative sense, where they make comedy or light of the situation, which oftentimes helps them process trauma that they might have undergone throughout their life. And then a lot of people might react to this and be like, okay, that's when you're opening the floodgates. You're pretty much just asking to be insulted if you're being vulnerable or emotional on the internet. And I feel like that is a reality of the situation. Oftentimes, what is expected when you post on the internet is that you're always going to receive hate. And that's just something that we have to live with. It's a reality of the situation that isn't changeable, or at least that's what a lot of people think. A lot of people take the backseat and they're like, okay, so that's just how the internet works. People post on it and other people are allowed to express their opinions. And while that is 100% true, everybody's entitled to their opinion. As it's often said, opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one. And oftentimes these opinions are built on a lack of understanding or compassion for something a person's going through. Oftentimes when you have a lot of these hate comments, it's going to be people that have never struggled with what these videos are about. They might have never even thought about people having to deal with, imbalances in the chemical makeup of their brain that end up causing them to feel depressed or anxious and stuff like that. Or even in cases of people that are neurotypical, not understanding neurodivergent people and their struggles. So you have a lot of comments of people not being empathetic enough to people's struggles. And I feel like that's such normalcy on the internet that has to be combated. And I'm going way too deeply into a topic that's not the focus of this episode, which is, the anonymity of the internet and how it empowers a lot of people to just be rude to each other. But what I'm trying to get at is oftentimes these hate comments, specifically on mental health related content, come from a place of you're not genuinely struggling. You're not, there are people that are far worse off than you, and your situation isn't as bad as their situation. Oftentimes it's people are playing like a game of who is the most stressed out, who has the biggest struggle. It's like a bunch of Mr. Struggles on the internet being like, oh no, I'm going through something worse. So there are people in XYZ country that are way worse off than you. And I don't know about y'all, but I don't think we're in some type of struggle Olympics. Everybody is allowed to just deal with their own issues in their own time and process it the way they require it. And they're going to express themselves in ways to try to, mitigate the issues that they're going through. Just because somebody somewhere else, wherever it is, has their issues and is having a harder time, it doesn't invalidate people's struggles that they're going through. And that's such a big issue with mental health and compassion on the internet, where people are just like, just because somebody else somewhere is having a harder time, maybe objectively speaking, maybe it's subjective, who knows? Because these other people are going through a harder time, they think that somebody expressing themselves and saying, no, I am currently, I am depressed, I need help. And then they turn around and they're like, oh, there are a bunch of people that are depressed. They don't talk about it. And I feel like that's such a backwards mindset where it's like, we have to address these types of issues. And people are just openly ignoring them because they feel like, oh no, we can't do anything about that because, there are people that are worse off and they need to, be treat it now when you have to wait your turn to be, struggling. I'm saying you know a lot. I feel like that's one of the biggest issues I have when I'm recording something. I say you know a lot. I'm going to try to mitigate that and try to not say it as much, because at the end of the day, when I'm, editing one of these podcasts, I end up saying, it gets kind of tiring to hear myself say, oftentimes. I bet if somebody were to take, count every single I say in one podcast episode, they'd end up with, a tally of 100 plus, just on, a 30-minute episode or something like that. But let me come back from my tangent and, go back to what I'm saying about hate comments on the internet. There are so many hate comments, and they become so common for some people that there are now trends originating from hate comments that people receive on the internet from their following or random people on the internet. Like, for example, this audio.
Yes, I do. Yes,
So you think I'm scared?
People calling you out for something oftentimes you cannot really change about yourself, and then that hate is being used creatively to make new content and mock the haters that are being hateful towards you. But it doesn't change the fact that this hate is becoming ever more common. And that's one of the major issues I feel like that needs to be addressed in general about the online ecosystem that we all live within nowadays, that we're so interconnected, that we're so involved with. I feel like that's one of the most important parts of, internet literacy courses that are offered in schools to younger kids. Oftentimes I feel like it's lacking in a sense because we ignore it oftentimes, and we're just it's something that, it's a monolith that can't be moved, because we've become so complacent and accepting of these shortcomings of internet culture. And we've once again gone on another tangent. I find it fascinating that I always end up going off onto some, thought process when I'm trying to stay focused. I have my script, I want to say what I want to say, and I feel like this is a common occurrence by now, where I just tangent off into a side thing that I'm just personally interested in, but isn't directly related to the topic I'm, touching on. And then I get these ideas and I just want to write them down for future episodes and stuff like that. But I want to reel us back in and go back to talking about the algorithm, because that's what we're actually here to talk about at this moment. This might be a conversation, but I'm just talking to myself, and since I don't have anybody to bounce off of, I'm just going to go on some crazy tangents. So I'm just going to reel myself back up there and go back to talking about, the algorithm, the TikTok algorithm. So let me catch myself back here. So, the algorithm in and of itself is powerful. That said, it's very complex. It has all these intricacies. And I've noticed that there are definitely people taking advantage of the algorithm. No, that's a common occurrence. Obviously, creators will wanna, take advantage of the algorithm to boost their content and, get a new audience and stuff like that. There are TikTokers specifically creating content directed at certain groups, especially younger children, because they're less likely to have that, critical thinking and all those things that are going to protect you from, questioning the things you're seeing in front of you on your screen. Now, questionable content is often being delivered and marketed towards children without any oversight at all. The same thing occurred with YouTube. They created the YouTube Kids app. That didn't help at all. Oftentimes, because these videos are machine reviewed, and oftentimes the review process for these questionable videos is faulty, and oftentimes not done by actual human beings, you often end up with videos with very adult content that is filmed in a way that it attracts children because of the way it's portrayed, the characters present, and then it ends up being marketed towards children and being presented to them, and kids end up seeing things that are very much not child-friendly, which ends up just exposing them to inappropriate content. I remember vividly that in the early TikTok days, in late 2017, early 2018, there were quite a few famous cases of literally pedophiles creating child grooming content to lure kids to enter into contact with them and then sexually harass them over the internet or ask them for explicit content, especially young boys and girls. These people, literal pedophiles, were creating content that was targeted at children and then utilizing their content being delivered to kids to start getting into contact with them and trying to coerce information out of them so they could either try to, in real life, attempt to commit heinous crimes or try to ask for explicit content over the internet. And that has significantly improved over time. TikTok has cracked down severely on these criminals, for a lack of a better word, these criminals that were posting on TikTok and utilizing their platform to try to lure in children. But there's still some cases of huge TikTokers, real famous TikTok creators, having allegedly groomed and engaged in inappropriate relationships with their young fans. Most famously, there's the case of Zoe Laverne, who ended up kissing a minor, I believe a 13-year-old boy, if my memory serves me correctly, and then playing it off as if it was a perfectly normal occurrence while she was above the legal age of consent. And there are also multiple allegations against the Lopez brothers, who are huge TikTokers, who have allegedly asked multiple fans of theirs who were minors to send them explicit photos over Snapchat and other media. And oftentimes these, people are protected by the institution in a sense. And when I say the institution, I mean very much like the people surrounding them and other content creators and other social media personalities, because quite often these people are just out to get clout and monetary gains from interacting with other large social media personalities. You have a lot of people still interacting and filming content with people like Zoe Laverne and Tony and Andreas Lopez. And this is by no means an uncommon occurrence. A lot of these large content creators end up in some form of scandal, embroiled in some form of scandal relating to asking their underage fans for explicit content over the internet. I feel like that's often overlooked in media because these people end up being shielded by their other powerful rich friends. You just recently, this last couple of weeks, had the case of James Charles allegedly sending inappropriate and explicit messages over Snapchat to multiple minors who were fans of his. In his case, this was an occurrence that had already happened before, and he had apologized for it and said he's going to learn from the situation. But once again, he finds himself in the situation much like this, where, victims come out saying that they were allegedly, and I say allegedly because obviously we don't have any concrete proof, but we have, evidence given by these victims, by these alleged victims. So this is by no means an uncommon occurrence in the influencer space, and that these people are still protected by the establishment that are TikTok, YouTube, and their powerful rich friends is highly depressing, because you have a lot of victim blaming going on, and this mentality that because these people are famous, they can make no mistakes. Oftentimes the fans that these people have are usually quite young and don't really know the reality of the situation that surrounds notoriety and famousness. So oftentimes these young fans don't really understand why victim blaming is the completely wrong approach to these scandals that keep popping up. And here's where the interface between human and machine really comes into play. You have to understand that when we look at these types of things, we think about the algorithm as the ruling majority party that's going to decide everything that's going to be promoted on an app, and the engagement is going to drive content being promoted. The algorithm is going to pick up that type of stuff. But we have to also consider the fact that these apps still have human moderation, in the sense that there are often campaigns that are being run or other content that's being promoted. And that's where the human element comes into play, where humans can actively modify how the algorithm is pushing content. It's not just a static, there's this piece of code, it's going to decide how things are going. But at any point, they can just decide that, no, we're going to change things up, and that's how it's going to work right now. So there is an element of suppression and boosting being constantly done without our knowledge, because we think this is just how the situation is and how things are run. But oftentimes behind closed doors, things are being constantly evolved and changed. And that's just sadly the case oftentimes. You have plenty of documented cases and evidence of the TikTok algorithm suppressing posts by especially fat, queer, disabled, or people that are deemed less attractive by society on the app. There are documented cases of there being suppression for fat creators, for queer creators, for disabled creators, and just people that are not societally defined as beautiful. You also saw during the Black Lives Matter protests that a lot of videos were being suppressed, muted, or even being deleted, and having the accounts associated with them being deleted, and also in some cases being temporarily banned so they wouldn't continue uploading content. And then TikTok came in and they said, no, we fixed this issue, it shouldn't be happening again. But people are still quite skeptical because it is an ongoing occurrence, because oftentimes these are just machines that are responding to content or audios being flagged by users on the app. And that system can obviously be abused. Oftentimes people utilize the content flagging system to intentionally try to mute or take down videos or audios that they might not agree with. It's oftentimes done by political opponents of people voicing their opinion. It's a way to silence an opposition. It's a way to silence people from putting out their opinions. And what they're trying to achieve is to make people lose the reach they had before. The content that is most often flagged, muted, and deleted by these brigading users are usually minorities calling out their oppression or voicing their opinions on situations that are occurring around them, and also voicing their political opinions or their beliefs and criticizing people that are complacent. But this issue doesn't just solely lie in the hands of suppression of content and audio, but also in the type of content and videos that are being promoted by the app itself and by their algorithm, which is usually of young, conventionally attractive people with little substance. And I'm not trying to say that, I'm not saying that lip syncing to a song or doing a dance are easy or not artistic. That is not what I'm trying to say. A lot of these people work very hard to get where they are, but oftentimes these attractive people are simply rewarded for staring into a camera and looking hot. And this is by no means a call out for any specific creator. I'm not trying to drag anybody down. I understand that everybody has their own unique way to create their content, and it's all very valid. But we have to be able to call out the reality of the situation. We have to be able to criticize what's going on around us if we see injustice occurring. And this promotion of this content, of lip syncing and dancing of young, conventionally attractive, usually white people, leads to a multitude of comments on these videos, usually of young women, saying that stuff like, this video reminded me not to eat, or this video called me fat in 5 different languages, which is often very degrading. The type of comments they're degrading themselves because they're seeing these people looking beautiful and perfect without any blemishes or faults, and that's not the reality of the situation. We know that these people in the videos aren't perfect. They're simply hiding behind a facet of Facetune, filters, angles, those types of things, but these comments convey genuine emotions people are feeling. They're seeing these things that are being served to them, this beautification and objectification of people purely based on their attractiveness. And the people making these videos, posting these photos, they're not the ones that are to blame. They don't carry the original sin for creating this type of content. It goes back into what I talked about, my toxic masculinity episode. There is an origin to why these videos and photos are so popular, why they exist, and why they're perpetuated. It all leads back into these ideas of patriarchal society where people subjugate themselves to follow these values and societal expectations that were set out by patriarchies, by men in power. People feel like they're expected to always be perfect and unblemished. And it's not these creators' fault. It's not the influencers that carry the original blame that these expectations exist. But they are benefiting from these oftentimes. You know, they're selling these false fantasies by retouching their photos, by applying filters to videos, by posting things in angles and not showing their true selves to people, which creates the self-esteem crisis that I talked about in my previous episode of the podcast, where I talk about the fact that these influencers on Instagram and other social media platforms are creating and putting out photos and videos of themselves always looking perfect, in perfect places, always, living their best life. And that is just selling a fake dream to people because we start believing that we have to achieve these similar things to these influencers, even though oftentimes these are unattainable goals of beauty, of life, of wealth that are only possible to these people, are only achievable by them because they're born into rich families, or they have the money to have a staff that can retouch and Photoshop their pictures, or they have a staff that can always be on call to do their makeup. They have a stylist, they have a personal trainer. They can always look perfect for the photos. And if they're not looking perfect in a certain shot or anything like that, they can have somebody retouch it and make it look perfect to continue selling this fake fantasy to people. People will go to the farthest extents possible to be considered beautiful. You even see it in the TikTok app as they offer filters when you're recording your videos in the app. And it's even more extreme in their Chinese counterpart Douyin, where they have specific filters to completely change the appearance of your face. You can change the size of your chin, your jawbones. You can change how round your face is, how big your eyes look, where your hairline starts. They can, smooth out all the pores in your face. You become a different person. It's not you in that video. It's this creation that's been computer generated to look a certain way. These filters are so heavy that they completely change the appearance and bone structure of the face and the body of people making these videos, and they become nigh unrecognizable. And we're selling this fantasy, these images, these videos to young impressionable people that are then going to internalize that, and that's going to end up causing them to hate themselves oftentimes, because it's impossible for them to attain this perfection they see in videos and photos. And that just plays back into all the harm that is being done by social media in general. Social media can be a very powerful tool to stay connected, to consume enjoyable content, to learn new things, but it can also have these detrimental effects on your mental health, on your self-image, and those types of things. We need to know that social media profits of our insecurities in ourselves and our desire to look like these unattainable goals. And what they do to achieve those types of things is create these algorithms, is promote that type of content. As I've said, the algorithm is extremely accurate over time. It will figure you out as a person and try to serve you things that are going to make you stay on the app. And that's oftentimes content that might make you feel very emotional. And those are not always happy emotions. They don't have to always be positive. A negative feedback loop can also make you stay on the app. So you have to be very careful about curating the type of content you're going to end up liking and favoriting, because oftentimes you can, dig yourself into a hole that you're not going to get out of. It is a double-edged sword. You can end up only interacting with content that makes you happy, is enjoyable, and doesn't pressure you into becoming a way you're not or trying to achieve something you can't. But oftentimes as well, especially for younger people, it isn't that easy to curate that because you're not yet certain of yourself, your character. You're still growing into yourself. So what you can often end up with is content parroting to you that you have to be a certain way, you have to follow these certain expectations, or you're not going to be able to be happy, or you're not going to fit in. And that's where the greatest issue lies with these algorithms, with these apps in general. And that's true for TikTok, it's true for Facebook, it's true for Instagram, it's true for Twitter. It's that they can both benefit off your happiness and enjoyment, but also your misery. And they don't genuinely care how they're making their money. And they can tell you all they want, that they only have your best interests at heart, that they're not trying to serve you anything that's going to end up making you feel worse about yourself. But that's not what they're genuinely doing. They have a capital incentive. These are for-profit companies that make most of their money off of ads and brand campaigns being on the app. And how they get their money from these things is by having a lot of users use their app. And how do you get a lot of users? You create an emotional attachment to the apps. It can be a negative emotional attachment, it can be a positive emotional attachment. A lot of people enjoy hate watching things. So always have it at the back of your mind that these companies are not really your friends. They're trying to make you stay on their apps, continue interacting with their content, and they're doing that by trying to serve you the content you're most likely to interact with. Damn. You know, I originally set out to make this a funny episode. I wanted to make this humorous. I wanted to make it a little more enjoyable and fun to listen to something that isn't just about what's wrong with our society and the issues occurring around us. You know, and I just feel like I once again brought the whole mood down. But I feel like it is important that we highlight these aspects of TikTok and other social media networks. While I find that TikTok is super enjoyable, and as I said at the start of this episode, I genuinely cannot imagine myself not using TikTok anymore. It's become a part of my daily life because I genuinely do think it is great fun. You know, I have an opportunity to learn new things. I interact with a lot of new content. I laugh. It's a lot of fun content, and I have an opportunity to interact with other queer people, and I just get to enjoy myself while getting away from the stressors of everyday life. Like most other social media, you have to take certain precautions so you don't end up surrounded by things like fake news, racist, bigots, or people trying to sell you this fake dream and this fake reality. But in moderation, the app is great fun, genuinely. I'll put the ad for some of my favorite creators down in the description, because it might be daunting to just jump on an app full of videos without, knowing a certain creator or the type of content they make, and just like randomly trying to figure out what's popular, what's enjoyable, that type of stuff. So I'll leave a couple of the people I think are really great and are doing some real fun things on the app. And as I say in every episode, I hope you enjoyed this little deep dive into the topic of TikTok. I've linked all my sources and resources down in the description. I recommend you check them out. There are a lot of interesting articles, a lot of interesting people down below, and I wish you all the best. Peace out.